The sky above planet Drelver was on fire. Black smoke rose from broken towers. Screams filled the air. Explosions shook the ground. The Carrick's invaders moved from city to city, burning everything, taking prisoners, killing anyone who resisted. Underground, in an old bunker beneath the capital city, the last group of Drelvari leaders sat in silence. Their faces were pale. Their long silver skin was covered in dust and blood. Children huddled in the corners. Mothers whispered prayers no one believed anymore. High Priest Luno stepped forward and looked at the blinking console. The emergency beacon still flashed. Red. It's been 2 cycles, he whispered. No answer. Elder Vesha slammed her fist against the wall. The Galactic Council heard us. They chose to ignore us. We are not important to them. Another elder nodded. No one will help. We are alone. But in the back of the room, a young technician named Raoul pressed a few keys and opened a hidden channel 1 not used in years. It's an old frequency, he said, his voice shaking. A Deathworlder frequency, from Earth. The elders turned sharply. You mean the humans? Someone said. They don't interfere in galactic affairs. Raoul nodded. But they listen. He pressed the button. A single message left the dying planet, flying across systems, cutting through silence, war, and politics. It simply said, to the humans of Earth, we are dying. Help us. Please. 2 light years away. On the Earth defense? Station orbiting Jupiter, Commander Rila Stone sat at her desk, sipping cold coffee. Her eyes were tired. Her uniform was creased. The war with the Draxians last year had taken its toll. Her console beeped. Rila sighed. Probably just another trade dispute. But as she opened the file, her expression changed. The screen showed a grainy image. A young Drelvari, boy screaming while rubble fell behind him. The message played. We are dying. Help us. Please. Rila didn't move. Her fingers froze. Then she leaned forward and played it again. And again. By the 3rd time, her hands were already moving. She pressed the red alert key. Her voice rang through the comms. Wake Admiral Sato. Wake all command. We've got a priority 1. Full Deathworld distress call. 3 hours later, inside Earth's military command hall, screens lit up across the room. High generals and admirals listened to the message. Some looked sad. Others looked angry. They're not even council members, one muttered. This isn't our war. But they're civilians, said another. They're asking us directly. Admiral Sato stood slowly. His voice was calm, but deadly. You all know what happens when a Deathworlder hears a cry for help. No one spoke. Commander Rila walked up to the front. The council will stop. U.S., one general warned. Rila smiled slightly. Let them try. On Drelver, the Carrick's forces tightened their grip. They laughed as they burned the Drelvari temples. They made sport of chasing children through the rubble. Their commander, Kral Raz, raised his clawed hand and roared, No one is coming to save you. But that night, the sky changed. A strange light appeared. At first, it was just a star. Then it grew dark and grew, until it filled the night with red fire. Someone screamed, What is that? From orbit, a single human warship descended. Black, silent, terrifying. Name flashed briefly in orbit translation. TDF Reckoner Carrick soldiers looked up, and for the first time, they felt fear. Inside the Reckoner, Commander Rila stood. In the center of the bridge, her eyes were cold. Her voice was calm. First drop squads ready? A soldier nodded. All Deathborn units are green, ma'am. No mercy protocol engaged. Rila turned to her comms officer. Send the message to the Drelvari bunker. Just 4 words. The officer nodded and transmitted. Back on the ground. In the bunker, young Raoul gasped. They answered. The console blinked. A message appeared. We? Hear you. We're coming. Elder Vesh's hands shook. Is it true? Are the humans really coming? Outside, a loud boom echoed. The earth shook. The sky burned. And then, like gods falling from the heavens, the first wave of Deathworlder drop pods slammed into the planet's surface. Asterisk on the shining moon city of Varex, the Galactic Council gathered. In a chamber of crystal and light, representatives from 20 alien races sat in high floating chairs, each one dressed in ceremonial robes, shining metals, or ancient bone armor. A giant circular screen showed live footage of Earth's warship, TDF Reckoner. Ascending on Drelver, panic rippled across the council. The humans have landed without our permission, hissed a slender creature with webbed hands. The Haidari minister. They broke protocol, snapped a six-eyed Marnathi ambassador. Earth was warned to stay out of this conflict. They are unleashing soldiers bred on a death world, screamed another. Do you know what that means? In the corner, Counselor Zeva, a calm and sharp-eyed alien from the neutral Yantari species, spoke softly. It means someone finally answered the call for help. The room fell silent, but then Supreme Counselor Vorik, a towering insectoid being, stood with authority. Humans act outside our rules. We must send a formal condemnation. This behavior cannot be accepted. He looked at the quiet Yantari. Zeva, speak. You've studied the humans closely. Zeva stood and tapped her staff. They did what none of us dared. They answered a dying world. We turned our backs. The Deathworlders did not. Counselor Varnak hissed. They will bring chaos, Zeva answered coldly. Perhaps, but sometimes, chaos is better than cowardice. Meanwhile, aboard the Reckoner, Commander Rilla watched the live transmission from the council chamber. She leaned back in her chair, unimpressed. Let them argue, she said. We're not here for them. Her second-in-command, Captain Harlow, looked up from the battlefield. Data. Carrick's forces are falling back in Sector 7. 2 human squads, just 2, cleared the entire ridge. Casualties? Rila asked. None. They didn't even reload. Rila gave a small nod. That's why they call us Deathworlders. On Drelver's surface, the Carrick's invaders were running. For the first time since the invasion began, they were the ones hiding. Human soldiers moved through the ruins like silent shadows. Fast, tactical, fearless. A Carrick's war leader named Grather stood on a balcony watching smoke rise. One of his scouts ran toward him, panting. Commander, we can't hold them. They don't stop. They don't feel fear. Grather grabbed the scout by the throat. They're just humans, the scout cried. No, these are Earthborn, the ones from the Deathworld. Grather's eyes widened. Deathworlders? Here? He dropped the scout and looked to the sky, back on the Reckoner. A council's official message came through Dot. It was long, filled with diplomatic words, warnings, threats. Rila didn't even read it all. Dot. She simply tapped reply and said one sentence. Your words mean nothing to the dead. Then she ordered the next phase of deployment. Dot, in a ruined Relvari town. A young girl named Sora crawled out from under a collapsed building. Her skin was bruised, her voice hoarse. She was alone. Then she saw it, a figure in black armor walking through fire, broad shoulders, glowing eyes. A human soldier. She froze in fear, but the soldier knelt, removed his helmet, and smiled. He looked tired, gentle. Hey there, little one, he said. You're safe now. Sora ran into his arms and cried. He held her close, from a rooftop. Above, another human watched through a scope and whispered, and they call us monsters. Council headquarters, moments later. Varnak smashed his clawed hand on the table. They must be stopped. Zava's voice cut through the shouting. You had your chance. They asked for help. We all said no. The council chamber flickered with alerts. Reports were pouring in. Carrick's warships destroyed in orbit. Civilians rescued by Terran medics. A Deathworld fleet is now moving toward the Carrick's homeworld. Silence fell. No one dared speak. Then came a single encrypted message from Earth, broadcast galaxy-wide. You allowed monsters to rise. We don't ask for permission to end them. The skies above Drelver turned red. At first, the Carrick's invaders thought it was just the sunset. But then the air began to shake. Static filled their combs. The clouds split open. And something fell from orbit. Fast. Boom. 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 Dozens of black capsules slammed into the ground like meteors. Dirt and metal flew everywhere. The noise was deafening. Carrick's soldiers screamed. Some fired blindly. Others ran. But it was too late. The pods opened, and out stepped the first wave of Terran Deathworlders. They wore dark armor with red visors. No flags, no markings, no mercy. Each moved like a predator, calm, focused, unstoppable. In Carrick's base. 9. Commander Grather watched the feed with trembling claws. What are they? He whispered. One of his lieutenants replied, voice full of fear. The humans have dropped troops, but not normal soldiers. These are the ones from the Terran death units. Impossible. They were banned. No, sir. They were warned. But humans don't ask. They act, Grather growled. Then we respond with full fire. The first battle, Southern Ridge group of Carrick's mechs stood waiting at the ridge, tall machines armed with plasma cannons. They had crushed hundreds of Drelvari defenders before. Now they faced 6 human soldiers. Just 6, one of the Carrick's. Laughed. Outnumbered. Outgunned. The lead human tilted his head. Wrong planet to joke. Then they attacked. But it wasn't a battle. It was a lesson. The humans moved between shots, predicting fire. One used smoke and infrared to flank. Another threw a signal jammer into the mech's core, disabling it instantly. In 2 minutes, the entire Carrick's mech line was destroyed. Hidden Bunker Drelvari civilians, watching on old screens, children and elders stared at the feed in shock. No one spoke. A little boy whispered, "They're winning?" The high priest nodded slowly. "No, they're not just winning. They're teaching the galaxy what Earth means." An older woman covered her mouth. "They came for us." Meanwhile, in orbit above, TDF Reckoner hovered like a black sun. Inside, Commander Rila watched the data stream. Hundreds of Carrick's units were falling back. Panic spread in every sector. Her officer spoke. "Commander, we're receiving a coded transmission." "From who?" "The Carrick's supreme ship. They're asking for terms." Rilla narrowed her eyes. "Terms? They burned cities. They hunted children." The officer hesitated. "What do we tell them?" Rila stood tall and said, "Tell them. This was just the first drop." Carrick's command cruiser, in panic supreme. Commander Zerd of the Carrick's roared at his officers. "How can less than 1,000 humans destroy our entire ground force?" The officer stuttered. "They don't fight like us. They don't protect themselves first. They protect each other. They move like they've died before and chose to come back angry." Another officer added, "Their armor isn't just strong. It adapts. It learns." Zern froze. "They brought a war gear?" "No, sir. They brought something worse." Zern leaned forward. "What?" "Experience. In the ruins of Valden City, a Carrick sniper sat in hiding. His scope was locked on a human soldier helping a Drelvari child. He took the shot, but nothing happened, and he heard a whisper behind him. You missed." The sniper turned just in time to see a blade made of blue heat cut through his weapon. A human operative with no armor. No helmet, just a soft voice and steady hand stood over him. "You don't shoot at kids." The human said dot and walked away. Council. Broadcast emergency update. The Galactic Council issued a galaxy-wide emergency broadcast. The human fleet has landed on Drelver. The Carrick's empire is retreating. Casualties unknown. Human forces are advancing. Counselor Zeva watched in silence. "Do you see now?" She whispered, "This is what happens when you ignore a cry for help. The Deathworlders don't come to talk. They come to end the screaming." Final scene, Drelver sky, the red sky cleared. Human. Ships hovered in silence. Drelvari civilians stepped out of their bunkers for the first time in months. They saw something they had forgotten. Hope. A little girl pointed at the sky and said, "The monsters left." Because the humans came. The war was not over, but the silence was new. In the broken streets of Drelver's capital, fires still burned, but the gunfire had stopped. Carrick's forces had retreated into the deep jungle regions. The human soldiers, those feared Deathworlders, stood watch over what was left. But something unexpected happened. They didn't just fight. They helped Dot in the ruins of the southern quarter. A young Drelvari boy named Kale wandered through the rubble, clutching a broken doll. He had not spoken since the invasion began. He stopped when he saw the massive shadow of a human soldier walking toward him. The armor was black. The eyes of the helmet glowed red. To Kale, it looked like a machine built for killing. He froze, but then the human knelt. Removed his helmet. He was just a man. His skin was dark, his eyes kind. He pulled something from his pack, a fresh doll, stitched from his own torn cloth. He offered it without a word. Kale blinked, then slowly reached out. The man gave a warm smile. "Safe now." That was the first word Kale had heard in days. Commander Rayla's personal log, entry 38. They called U.S. monsters. They feared what Earth would bring. But these people, they don't need weapons now. They need water, food, kindness. So that's what we give, because that's what makes us human. At the old Drelvari Medical Center, human medics set up portable hospitals. Wounded Drelvari were lined up in silence, expecting pain, maybe even death. But the humans worked quickly, gently. One Drelvari elder looked up at a nurse with wide eyes. "You're healing us?" The human woman smiled. "What else would we do?" Carrick's command transmission. Secret recording inside a damaged Carrick's cruiser. Commander Grather listened to intercepted footage. Human soldiers patching alien wounds, sharing food, rebuilding homes. He slammed his claws on the console. They don't just conquer. They inspire. An officer growled, "How do we fight an enemy that kills with one hand and comforts with the other?" No one answered. In the forests of Drelver. While medics worked in the city, small human teams entered the jungle. Not to chase the Carricks, but to find the last hidden civilians. One squad found an underground hideout with 20 Drelvari children and their teachers. The human leader removed his helmet. Emergency evac team, Earth Division. "We are here to get you home." One teacher wept. "Your Deathworlders, why would you help us?" He simply said, "Because no one else did." Council debate. Day 3 after human landing, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Some races demanded Earth withdraw. Others begged Earth to help them next. Counselor Zeva, calm as always, addressed the chamber. "You wanted the humans gone. You wanted silence. But you heard the cries and did nothing. They heard them and moved. And now you want to control them? They are not your soldiers. They are your mirror." TDF Reckoner, Observation Deck Commander Rila, stood watching the planet turn below her. Her officer spoke softly. "We've stabilized 4 cities, distributed shelter, clean water, and rations. Local leaders want to meet you. Rila nodded. And the council? Still sending threats. Still doing nothing. She smiled slightly. Let them watch. Then she looked out into space. They called us Deathworlders. But what they never understood is Earth made us strong so we could protect the weak. Drelvari. Public broadcast. First since invasion a Drelvari leader. Elder Visha stood on a cracked rooftop with a human beside her. She faced the camera. To the galaxy, we cried for help. Only one world answered. They did not come with flags or speeches. They came with armor, steel, and open hands. The humans. The Deathworlders. They are not what we feared. They are what we hoped for. The human next to her raised one hand and said just one word, peace. Carrick's base transmission final line. The Carrick's High Command sent one last encrypted message to its colonies. Retreat from Drover. Do not engage humans. They are not just soldiers. They are something we were never ready for. The sky darkened again. But this time, it wasn't human ships. It was revenge. Far from Drover, on the edge of the system. Carrick's reinforcements arrived 30 warships, massive in size and burning with hatred. Their engines glowed red. There. Weapons charged. At the front of the fleet. The Carrick's Supreme Commander Zern stood on the bridge of the Devourer, his cold eyes locked on the blue-green planet below. Send a message to the humans, he growled. We are not done. Not yet. In orbit TDF Reckoner Commander Rila the transmission. Her officers waited. The message was short. Withdraw now, or face complete destruction. Rila didn't flinch. She turned to Admiral Teague on the Windsea. Command screen. Carrick's fleet has arrived. 30 ships. Heavy firepower. They think we'll back down. Teague smiled. Then it's time we show them what Earth really builds for war. Earth Fleet Activation Hidden Protocol from deep space. Project Emberwake was unlocked. From asteroid bunkers and dark space stations, Earth's silent fleet came alive. No music. No light. Just movement fast, silent. Final. 20 ships launched each. One black as shadow, named after Earth's ancient storms. Typhoon, Quake, Inferno, Judgment. And leading them, the flagship, TDF Vengeance back on Drelver civilians unaware. In the capital, the people of Drelver began rebuilding. Children drew stars in the dust. Old men hammered broken roofs. A soft wind moved through the market. Then alarms. Screamed. People looked up. Flashes in the sky. Dozens of Carrick's warships entering the upper atmosphere. A mother grabbed her child. No, not again. Carrick's invasion attempt begins. Missiles flew down. Plasma lit the clouds. But before they touched the ground, they vanished. Gone. No explosion. Just silence. The Carrick's commanders blinked in confusion. What happened to the weapons? Then the horror began. Earth's response swift and cold from the shadows of Drelver's moon. The hidden human fleet decloaked. The Vengeance fired first. A beam of white energy cut straight through 2 Carrick ships. No warning. No build-up. They didn't explode. They disappeared. One Carrick's admiral screamed. What is that technology? Answer. Terran-level fire discipline. Built for total war. Carrick's troops land, but regret 1,000 Carrick's warriors landed. Near the northern ridge. They marched in formation, proud and ready. They never saw the traps. Smart mines. Heat-sensing turrets. Silent drones made of glass. They were picked off one by one. No loud battles. Just vanishing shapes and sudden falls. By nightfall. Not one Carrick soldier remained. Drelvari civilians watching in the capital. The sky glowed red again. But it was not fire raining down. It was Carrick's wreckage falling from orbit. Burning metal. Shattered wings. People stood in silence. A small boy asked his father, Are the humans angry? The father replied, No, son. They're protecting. Carrix. Command Panis inside the Devourer. Commander Zern shouted, Fall back. Retreat. His officers cried, They're blocking hyperspace lanes. We can't escape. Zern grabbed his head. Then fight, fight. But there was nothing left to fight with. Every weapon failed. Every system jammed. Then came the human. Transmission. You brought fire to civilians. We bring fear to monsters. You're not at war with Earth. You're at war with Deathworlders. On Drelver, Commander Rila stands alone. She walked through the quiet rubble. No helmet, no AR. Galaxy had never seen Earth like this. The battle above Drelver was over. Carrick's ships destroyed. Their ground forces wiped out. But Earth's fleet didn't return home. They turned toward the Carrick's homeworld. On board, TDF Vengeance Admiral Teague stood at the command deck, eyes cold, voice calm. Is the fleet in formation? His officer nodded. Yes, sir. All ships. Standing by for Phase Omega. Teague gave the order. Set course for Carrick's Prime. Galactic Council Emergency Session counselors shouted across the chamber. They're heading for Carrick space. We must stop them. This is genocide. But Counselor Zeva stood. She raised her hand. Silence. The room obeyed. Did we stop the Carricks when they burned Drelver cities? When they hunted children? No one answered. Zeva continued. Earth warned us. They told us they would come. And now the reckoning is theirs to give. Carrick's Prime High. Command Fortress. The skies above Carrick's darkened as Earth's fleet arrived. Carrick's. Supreme Commander Zern stared at the scanners. There are only 20 ships. We have a planetary shield, a full defense grid. His advisor whispered, that didn't help the last fleet. Zern's hands trembled. Send all forces, every ship, every weapon, everything. Earth's first strike, precision and terror. TDF Inferno fired first. A concentrated plasma beam cut straight through the planetary shield like it wasn't there. Carrick satellites exploded. Missile silos melted. Orbital defenses. Gone. Then came Judgment, a warship designed not just for destruction, but for memory. Dropped thousands of nano-drones, each one carrying a single message. This is not revenge. This is justice. You chose war. Earth chooses peace after. On the ground, Carrick's panic cities screamed. Sirens echoed, but nothing fell. Instead of bombing cities, Earth's fleet disabled all weapons, all command centers, all war factories. By one, every tower went dark. Every general was captured. Every weapon turned to dust. But the people? They were untouched. Even as the Carricks trembled, Earth spared civilians. It wasn't just power. It was control. And the message was clear. We are not like you. Broadcast to the galaxy. Earth sent a single feed. Galaxy-Y. It showed Carrick's Prime silent. Disarmed, defeated. Then Commander Ryla's face appeared. This is not domination. This is correction. If you harm the weak, if you ignore the cries, Earth will come. We won't ask. We will act. She paused, then said the final words. The age of cowards is over. The age of Deathworlders has begun. Galactic Council shaken for the first time in history. The council chamber was silent. Not from fear. From realization. They had watched Earth destroy an empire without mass death, without cruelty, without conquering. They didn't burn the planet. They rewrote the rules. Carrick's Prime final scene. Zern stood in the ashes of his broken command center. Ah, human soldier approached. You are our prisoner now. Zern sneered. You could have killed us all. Why didn't you? The soldier stared at him with cold eyes. Because then, we'd be like you. On Drelva rebuilding, begins human ships hovered above as Drelvari. Children played again in the streets. Medical tents turned into schools. Rations became community kitchens. Weapons were put away. The humans weren't conquerors. They were guardians. Commander. Rila's final log entry. We came when no one else did. We fought because we had to. We spared because we could. And we leave behind a warning, not with fire, but with memory. The galaxy watched us arrive. They will never forget how we left. Asterisk more. Drelvari citizens gathered around her. One elder approached. You destroyed their fleet. You stopped the second war before it began. But how? Rilla looked at the stars and said softly, because Earth remembers every time we were ignored. Every time we were small. Now, when someone cries, out we don't send hope. We send strength. It had been 40 days since the last Carrick's weapon fired. The galaxy had changed. No new war had begun. No human empire rose from the ashes. No flags were planted. No planets were claimed. Earth didn't stay to rule. They left something stronger. Behind Colon Hope. Drlva, our morning silence, the sun rose over the broken skyline of Drelvar's capital. But today, there was no smoke. Instead, music floated in the air. Children ran through clean streets. Fresh walls were painted in bright colors. Laughter replaced the sound of sirens. A statue stood in the center of the rebuilt square half Drelvari. Half-human. At the base were the words. We cried. They answered. TDF Reckoner. Departure Protocol Commander Rila stood on the deck for one last look at the planet. Behind her, officers loaded supplies and shut down defense grids. Human forces were leaving. Mission complete. Captain Harlow stepped beside her. You really think they'll be okay? Rila didn't answer immediately. She just watched a Drelvari child hand a flower to a human medic, then run back giggling. Then she said, yeah, I do. Galactic Council Chamber. A new vote for the first time in its long history. The Council wasn't debating war or trade routes. Today, they voted on something new. A charter. A new code. The Earth Protocol. Written by humans. Signed by 28 species. It declared, no call for help shall be ignored. Any world in danger will be heard. And those who bring harm to the innocent will face judgment, not by council votes, but by action. Counselor Zeva's final speech. She stood at the center and spoke with a clear voice. We feared them. We mocked their world. We called them Deathworlders. But now, we call them something else. The answer. Not because they conquered, but because they protected. And in doing so, they reminded us what we forgot. That strength, when used to shield. The weak become something beautiful. The chamber erupted in applause. Even old rivals stood. Carrick's Prime, under supervision once a world of war, now silent. Reconstruction crews worked with quiet hands. Human engineers trained Carrick's youth to purify water. Drelvari volunteers built homes for Carrick's orphans. There were no guards, no chains, just lessons. And warnings. A single sign stood in the capital. Power is not control. Power is choice. Choose better. Earth broadcast to the stars. A new channel opened across the galactic network. It was simple. It played no music. No announcements. Just faces. Drelvari children smiling. Carrick survivors planting trees. Humans laughing with strangers. Wounds healing. Together. At the end of each message, a soft voice said, if you are afraid, if you are forgotten, if you are falling, we will come. Not to lead, not to rule, but to stand beside you. Final scene. Deep space. A small outpost in a forgotten system flickered with a distress signal. Pirates had arrived. The local species, weak and alone, sent a call no one had ever answered. Before, they didn't expect much until a voice answered, Terran Peace Corps, we received your signal. Evac ships inbound. Hold tight. You're not alone anymore. The outpost went silent in shock. Then the cheers began. Closing words, Commander Reela's last log. We were once just a loud, messy, broken world, full of storms, full of scars. But we learned. We endured. And when the stars cried for help, we answered, not because we were perfect, but because we were human. And that was enough. The end asterisk.